Hey, this is Mark Lee Morrison, and you're listening to a very exciting episode of Low Profile. In 1991, a group of young men from Leicester, England, formed a band that combined punk rock, shoegaze, and Punjabi folk music. The combo was called Cornershop, and they released several singles, EPs, and an album on small record labels, eventually being signed to David Byrne's Luaka Bop label, gaining fans around the globe. Their album from 1997, When I Was Born for the Seventh Time, got the attention of DJs and music lovers everywhere. Notably, Fatboy Slim, whose remix of their single Brimful of Asha went to the top of the charts with a bullet. While Cornershop never replicated that feat of commercial success, the last 23 years have seen the band continue to evolve. Their latest album, England is a Garden, is a vibrant and upbeat collection of new songs that work as a great remedy to these pandemic blues. Tjinder Singh is the leader of the band, and I got to have a lovely conversation with him about Cornershop's journey over the years. Before we hear the interview, I need to ask for your help to keep this show moving forward. There are a few ways you can help. Leave a rating and review on iTunes, subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode, tell a friend, and make a standing donation by going to patreon.com/lowprofile. Thanks so much for being a great audience. Now here's the first single from England is a Garden, Saint Marie Under Cannon, followed by my interview with Tjinder Singh.
They're talking about the lost soul and how it could be taken alone, and how they fed the feeling seen, and one could never remedy chronology. Saint Marie under cannon, Saint Marie under cannon, Saint Marie under cannon. The bells of San Sebastian.
Yeah, we're ready.
Alright, so Tjinder, where are you?
I'm at home in London, in Stoke Newington, N16, Hackney, North London.
Lovely. And we were just listening to a clip of Saint Marie Under Cannon, the lead-off single from your new album, England is a Garden, and I was wondering, I want to get deep into some background info on the band, but if we could start by just talking about that single.
Well, Saint Marie Under Cannon, the demo version came along in France. I recorded the demo there, and the chorus was something that came to me, and so it was the chorus then ad-libbing all the rest of it, and it sounded quite good. Very simple. My wife's name is Marie, so she was a bit perplexed by it, but it sounded good. So when I got back to London, I then put the beat to it, and then we augmented it from there. And really, it was lots of different images that were being put over in that song. And at the time, I wasn't writing too many lyrics, so it was a lot of mumblings as well. And so it took a bit of time to fill those mumblings in, sometimes going back to mumblings. But the song's about, it goes back quite a while into empire, British Empire, and then colonialism. And then it's got modern day aspects to it. And really it's about conquering different peoples and not so many savoury things like that, and looking for the benevolence of Saint Marie to ask for forgiveness on such an account. Maybe I'm singing for the British rather than them singing it themselves.
So there's always been a lot of sort of socio-political theme to your songs from the very beginning. This is your seventh proper full-length album that's a sort of a non-collaborative effort.
Yeah, we decided that if we didn't do any collaborations, then that would be something different that we haven't done for quite a long time. So we went back to not having any names on it.
Yeah, it's been 11 years since Judy Sucks a Lemon for Breakfast, which I thought was a terrific and much welcomed to my ears release.
Judy sucks a lemon for breakfast, and Jojo takes the morning tube. She gets on that number 11 bus, Elizabeth Avenue, right down to Gregory Park. Oh, Judy sip on a single grain, walking round to Gregory Park. Check out the bright spark when Jojo puts another record in the glove box. We walk the groove, yeah.
And then the last thing was the Urban Turban, which was the collection of singles that you'd put out over the years on your label Ample Play. And I really enjoyed those as they came out, and I was really happy that you put those out as a collection. It worked quite well as an album, I thought.
I think the background to all of that is that the music industry was changing so much. And when we put out a song like an album like Judy Sucks a Lemon for Breakfast, it was very much in the similar sort of vein as, well, it wasn't because it's a very different album, but I think the intent behind it was very much like Hand Cream for a Generation. But the music industry had changed quite a lot, and it wasn't really responsive to that kind of music. So we did the Bubbly Core album, which is an Asian vocals with more beats-based music. And then we went on to collaborations that we'd done with people and, as you said, made up the Urban Turban album. And then after that, we actually did an easy listening album of renditions of the first album that we've ever done and made it into an easy listening album. That was called Hold On, It's Easy. And then this album, the new album, sort of has taken quite a lot of time. But we felt it was the right time to come out now, and that the industry would be a little more responsive. We didn't realise it would be this more responsive because we have sort of people are really into it, and we have made up for a lot of lost time with this album, so we're very happy about that.
Yeah, I forgot about Hold On, It's Easy, and that, just sort of very, that was an unexpected surprise as well. I'd like to play a little clip of Born Disco Died Heavy Metal, first the original version from Hold On, It Hurts, and then segue into Hold On, It's Easy so the listeners can sort of hear what the idea was there. We'll assume that the listeners have just heard that. Where the hell did you come up with that idea? Was it were you just joking around, or how did that come about?
Well, I thought of the idea actually in a plane, and I spoke to Alan, who's our keyboard player, and we talked about it. And then within a few months, we were doing it. Maybe it was the altitude, but the original was very noisy, but we didn't particularly like the way that it was recorded, but we were on a very independent label, and all the money that was going in was our money. So we didn't want to waste their time and money, and neither did we want to waste ours. So we felt we should just go with whatever was recorded. If we had our time again, we wouldn't have persevered like that. We would have scrapped it all and started again, because we feel that it didn't come out very well. But that's what makes it different, and that's what it shows the progression of the group as well. So we're happy about that. But we did feel that there were melodies in there, and we brought them out with the Easy Listening album. And we thought that was quite a nice little twist to do that. Not many groups can do that, and not many groups can execute a whole album as well. I think a lot of groups are talking about doing live albums, executing just live albums on stage, and we've never done that. We've always hated the idea of that. So maybe this is our version of that.
I've noticed a theme since I've been following you guys since when I Was Born for the Seventh Time came out. I went right out and went back to Woman's Gotta Have It, went backwards until I had all that previous material, and then have been keeping up ever since. You know, I was eagerly anticipating the nice surprise.
Oh, great.
Clinton was the side project of you and Ben Ayers.
Yeah. 1999. And it sort of fed in. The Clinton album was more technology based, and it sort of fed into what we were doing with Cornershop anyway. So, it was a nice thing to do.
Yeah, I'd say there's a very thin line between the two, between Clinton and Cornershop.
Yeah, it became that. I think especially with Hand Cream for a Generation. I mean, actually, there were songs that we did for Clinton that we then moved over. Well, actually, there's People Power in the Disco Hour, which was then also used in Hand Cream for a Generation. It was a Clinton track beforehand. And I think there were a couple of other ideas as well that were started as Clinton tracks, and then we moved them over to Cornershop tracks.
We're going to take this movement onto the streets. I one day to get the handwrite this shit. People power in the disco hour. People power in the disco hour. People power in the disco hour. There's gonna be people power in that disco hour.
There's a lot of to and fro in between the two.
One thing I've enjoyed as a fan of your music is that you tend to reinvent yourselves, reinvent your previous material sometimes, a lot of catchphrases that you'll repeat in different songs throughout the albums. And I've noticed, say, like things like Motion the 11 is a phrase that comes up in more than one song.
Motion the 11, yeah. Motion the 11. Motion the 11.
Is that a dance move?
Motion the 11. Yeah, it's like when you bring an aeroplane in, you motion the 11, you put your two arms up, and then there also is the other dance move of the airplane wheel where you move just your foot. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had never heard that phrase before, but It's a move that I've taught my children at the very least.
That's very nice. I was going to say that someone today was mentioning on Twitter how their baby has been brought up with Cornershop songs, and how much they like the music, and the kid likes the music. So, and we've always encouraged that. There's been two things that we sort of use to test albums. One is if babies and young kids like it and move to it, and the second one is, does it work when we're driving back on the motorway? So we and if we can get both of those right, we think we've got it pretty much sorted.
Yeah, sussed out for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Music plus one is another catchphrase that you guys throw out once in a while. And I have always wondered what that meant.
Music plus one, it's a series of jazz learning stages. Music plus one. So that was put in. On the new album, I suppose that there is a reference to Born Disco Died heavy metal, with the heavy metal from the back of a stage.
Heavy metal from the back of the stage. Walk into heavy metal from the back of the stage.
Yeah, I remember hearing that too. I caught that.
Yeah. And I think Cash Money as a song title was mentioned with Otis Clay on Hand Cream. But the thing is, the whole title, England is a Garden, is really, well, it's open-ended like most of our titles. But it also is the fact that it's a garden and there's other gardens around it, and hopefully you can open the garden gate and you can go into the other album of gardens that we've done. And those usage of the same lyrics just helps people, helps navigate them to the different albums, hopefully.
One element that I was expecting and didn't get on England is a Garden is you've been dabbling with hip hop pretty much since '97. Maybe even earlier than that, I guess, with your loops and everything. And this is a much more live feeling record.
Yeah, we deliberately went for a more guitar-based record without too many changes to technology-based songs, because we didn't want to lose people. In the past, maybe those sort of segues or those songs have not allowed things to flow, and we definitely wanted to go back to doing more guitar stuff. So we basically kept it, as the album went on, we basically kept it more guitar. There were other songs done that were more sample based, but we just didn't think that they sounded. We didn't want to interrupt the flow of what was going on.
You reckon we're going to hear any of the outliers?
Well, we actually did a few tracks that we got ready for B-sides, but that's apparently not done anymore. People just release one tracks for singles. So there's a few tracks that.
What happened to B-sides?
Yeah, I mean we've always actually liked doing B-sides, and sometimes the B-sides have been a hell of a lot more interesting than the A-sides. But we're also quite happy to know that we've got some more in our trunk. So we're hopefully, maybe that'll go towards another album. I'm not too sure.
Well, yeah, it's a quite ominous time in the world, and pretty good timing for people to hunker down and listen to this really uplifting music that you make. And I'm hoping that we can turn on some new fans right now. This music will make you feel a little better.
Well, it people are saying that, which is very nice of them. it does seem to sort of fit a hole, and it is upbeat, and they do like it. And even though they're new songs, people think that they sound like old songs that they already know. So it is comforting for people. It seems to be. So we're very happy about that. As I say, we think it's going to get a whole lot worse. So it's if anyone can be comforted by it for even 10 minutes, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, you know, you guys are really good at sounding like Cornershop. Nope.
Well, that's the biggest.
No one can do it better.
That's the biggest compliment there is. I mean, you know, some people say, like with when we put out No Rock Saving Roll, that it sounds like the Stones, it sounds like the Velvets, it sounds like T-Rex, but it also sounds like Cornershop. As long as it sounds like Cornershop, then we're happy, because we wouldn't try to be like any of those other groups intentionally. You'd fall very fast on your face. But that's a lovely compliment. I don't know. Well, we have tried to research why this might be, and our lab tests tell us that we hardly ever use any minor notes. Those black keys, we just don't use them. And maybe that's why we're a little more upful than most.
That's a good point. There's just sort of a lot of motifs, you know. Maybe you'll use the same guitar riff again and use it a third time, a fourth time.
Why not?
But you just put a nice twist on it, and
yeah,
it becomes a whole new animal that's also very familiar. And
yeah,
I think Cornershop is reliable. That's what I can say.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. That's very good of you. After all those years, it's nice to be known as reliable.
Now, in addition to sounding like Cornershop, you've done a handful of covers over the years. Notably, you translated Norwegian Wood into Punjabi,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've also covered Johnny Cash, Manfred Mann, Johnny Horton even. And now what totally knocked me out was I was looking at the track listing for the new album before I even heard it, and I saw at the end of the record The Holy Name by Hansaduta Swami, who I didn't think anybody else was aware of, much less one of my favorite bands. And that was just like Christmas present for me right there.
Oh.
Nothing to lose but all to gain. You convince the world to chant the holy name. Dirty hearts and busted brains, you make the lowest man dance to the name. Spiritually deaf, dumb, blind and lame, you cure the multitudes with the name. Honor, dishonor, pleasure and pain, kicked out as worthless by this holy name. Mad after money, women and fame, sometimes even I think of chanting the name. I've tried every trick and played every game, but I cannot understand what is this name. Sun, snow, wind, hail and rain, all times are good for chanting the name. White friends and relations think us insane. This is one result of chanting the name. Faster than a bullet or a speeding train.
Can you talk about Hansaduta and how you came to choose that song? How did you discover him?
Yeah, I think I was over in New York in about 93 with a Danish band. I was producing them. And I bought a handful of records, and that was one of them. And it's pretty intriguing from the cover, and then obviously listening to it, it had a very communal sort of sound to it. And that song in particular is quite a train of a song. It just carries on, but it gets into your head, and it drives into your skull. So I've always thought that maybe at some stage we'd want to do that, and so we took it more in the sort of hippie direction, and more of the we got a choir of people that are the local primary school parents choir, because we didn't want anything with too much finesse. We want it to sound like a hippie canteen, and we also got them singing in the canteen to get that sort of flavour out of it, and with people just talking and screaming, and babies crying, and different languages going off in the background, and people joining in ad hocly to give it that sort of live sense. And that then goes back to not just the hippie times, but also to my sort of times at the temple, where things were ad hoc and babies would be passed over whilst devotional songs are being sung, and money would be given, and lots of things would be going on whilst the artists just carry on. So there was a lot of thought as to which way to take it, and that was one way of doing it. Maybe we'll do a version without the canteen choir at some stage. People seem to like that track, and it's a great track.
Yeah, it sure is. And yeah, like I said, what a surprise. I'd like to...
Well, it's a surprise that other people know it.
All right, another recurring theme in your songs. A word that I did not know the meaning of, and I'm guessing most of my listeners are American and probably don't know. WOG. Can we talk about this for a little bit?
Yeah. We've always liked to use the word. It's very offensive to some people. It's misunderstood by other people. We've always considered that it's an acronym of Western Oriental Gentleman, or nowadays Western Oriental Gentle Person.
Sure.
Again, it's got a lot of history to it, because it's, again, something from colonialism. So other people get very offended by it. We think that it should be kept in the lexicon because of the offence that it's created in the past, and because we need to remember how things were. So we try to. I think we've used it about four times, and we've probably used it a few more times in demos as well. Yeah, it's striking. It's a bit like the N-word. It's a reclamation of a word, and because it can be dignified if you break it down to Western Oriental Gentleman or Gentle Person. It's got an air of grace about it, which is unfortunately the antithesis of what it's known for.
Right. I mean, I feel a little bit awkward even saying it, or being compelled to sing along to like the song on the new album.
Yeah.
Much like, I mean, it's kind of like when Kendrick Lamar came out, and I knew all the words to his songs, but I would just say fellow or gentleman in place of the words I'm not supposed to say.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that probably is one of the most catchiest songs on the album, and it does stick with you. You do find yourself,
and it's a serious song. It's a very upbeat, fun, catchy song, but it's the lyrics are of a very serious nature. I'm gonna play a clip of it here. If we could just take a breath, and I'll ask you to comment on that particular song. So, will you introduce the song actually, so I don't have to say the words?
Yeah, this is Everywhere That WOG Army Roam from the new Cornershop album.
Everywhere that WOG Army roam. Everywhere that Tjinder Singh. They follow Pretty and Tjinder Singh. They follow Pretty and Tjinder Singh. Policemen follow them.
What a terrific song, and also somewhat harrowing.
Well, actually, you said that it's very serious. We had again tweet, because I'm isolated. Someone tweeted, and she's quite a respected Asian TV presenter. She tweeted that it was quite funny. So you get you get all sorts of thoughts, and that's what a song. That's the beauty of a song, that you can that it can mean totally different things, depending on who you are or where you hear it or what time you hear it. A lot of people ask us why do we just stick to music? We haven't really done that much else. I personally love songs because I think to write a book about some of the issues that I sing about would take a damn long time, and it doesn't express itself as immediately as a song, and a song can stay there, and it could stay there and not do anything for years, and then it can suddenly burst out and people can understand it. And that seems to be what's happened happening with our catalogue. People are suddenly starting to understand elements of it that they didn't get before, and so the whole story of not just album to album, but within the songs is also it all informs itself and makes for a book. At the end of the day, it does make for a book.
Well, what I took from that song is just like that it's a commentary on racial profiling.
Yes.
By the police.
Yeah. I mean, my uncle was actually raided, and in his house, and that was with machine guns, and so that was quite heavy stuff. And I do know other people that have been raided, of course, and actually we got a video done for it, and the video person was talking about very much a hard angle on it, and he said when the police come in, it's going to get really rough. And I said, we don't need it rough. The song itself talks about the roughness. The video doesn't need to do that. We can pull back from that, because the song itself is damn rough. I mean, essentially, it's basically going back to what Lennon said, that woman is the nigger of the world. And it's an interpretation that in the 70s, the Rastas were the ones that were pulled into the Black Mariah's police vans. And nowadays, it's the Asians that are persecuted in that way. And so it talks about Rastas being chucked around in a room. So it is heavy, it is quite political, but it's for some people it's funny, and for some people it's very memorable, and for some people, I'm sure, because of the word that we talked about earlier, it'll be rather offensive. And I mean, I suppose the word wog is also is a term that some people think is for the African Caribbean community. I've never seen it like that, but so they might be offended by that as well. But anyway, the story goes on.
But now, do you use it slangily, like among other Indian British folks?
I tend to use it whenever I like.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I've used it. I use it with anyone, because I firmly believe that the word has the repercussions of that I talked about a bit earlier. But yeah, it's a word with an exclamation on the end of it, whether I want to put that exclamation mark there or not.
Well, thank you for giving us an explanation today.
Oh.
All right. Well, we already talked about the holy name.
Yeah.
Most of your albums tend to have one of those extended length jammers, and those are always just you know, what I like about those songs is if you go to a place that has an internet jukebox where you can look up songs, you really get more bang for your buck. You put in pick 2 songs. I could put on the Turned On Truth.
Oh.
And Tjinder Singh, and I'm good for half an hour.
Yeah, that's a lot of tea.
It's really saving my jukebox money.
Yeah.
The Tjinder Singh, you did another thing where you kind of bookended an album, which you also did on Hand Cream for a Generation, with Otis Clay, as an MC. And for those of y'all who don't know, who are listening, Otis Clay, he's a gospel soul singer, and he's got a great, terrific voice. And how you must have, how did you reach out to him to be sort of your hype man?
Well, 2 things actually. One, he's passed away. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But we got to him because I liked Otis Clay, and I was listening to Otis Clay, and Yael Evlev at Luarkabop Records, whose label we were on at the time, said that he could ask Otis to do some vocals for us.
The oldest but goodie, the hyper made sound. Would you please give a warm San Francisco welcome as we move the program on? A warm welcome for Tjinder Singh in Cornershop. Yeah.
So that was arranged, and he was playing live at the time, and he did that in his dressing room just before he went on stage, and recorded it on DAT and sent it over. And by that time we'd already had the music, so we actually just stuck it on, and it was basically there. It was done.
And the music you made for that track was very reminiscent of Otis Clay. So
it was, which is probably why I thought about him. It sort of reminds me of the Live in Tokyo album that Otis did, which is a corking album throughout. It's very good. It's great audience participation. Japan obviously loves him. And that's also then inspired Welcome to Tokyo, Otis Clay, which is a Clinton track as well. Just remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
Another self-referential thing.
Yeah, well,
I was just listening to the Tokyo album this morning. I took a little side trip and listened to Otis Clay, and I was like, I'm not really too far off the map here.
Well, we don't try to be like that because, again, you can't really try to be anything. You'll fall flat. But, certainly the spirit of it is...
Yeah, you guys don't seem like you're trying. It seems very natural.
Well, I didn't want to bring it up. Me and Ben aren't musicians, and we've been doing it for quite a long time, and we could have easily said, okay, forget this. Let's get learning and learn how to work this piece of wood a bit more. But it's not really us. So we've never done that, and we've done that to a certain extent, but we've never continued it. One, because we're not very good at it. Two, because if we did that, then we'd be like everyone else. And once you learn something, you'd stay within the groove of what you've learned. And we don't do that. Sometimes I think it's better not to do anything for a long time. Then when you've come back to your guitar, something else and something different will come about. It might not be the most professional execution of it, but that's why we have other people there to take that bit further. But it also melds what we do with what other people do, which sort of gives us our sound as well.
What about the time you collaborated with Allen Ginsberg? How did that come about? What's that story?
We used to open our live shows with Allen Ginsberg's Howl when we first started out, and we loved the execution of it, the sound of it, the quality, the roughness, the length, the different areas that poem goes into. And again, it was a case of being in New York. Well, we were in New York, and the idea came up that it would be a nice thing to do. And Yale, again, at Luakabot, he just phoned Allen Ginsberg up, getting his number from the Yellow Pages. And then we walked over to his house when it was arranged, to his apartment, actually, in New York. And we walked over with David Byrne, me and Ben. And he was very lovely. He looked fine to us, actually. And he was watching a Beatles documentary on the television, which I think he was in the audience for. And his flat was lovely. It was very, very cramped, but very full of great posters and literature and records. And we sat down in his kitchen, and he thought that was the song that he would have liked that was the poem that he would have liked as a song many years ago when he wrote it. And I think he originally wrote it with Dylan in mind, but it never got done. So he then recited that.
You'll bear your bones, you'll grow, you'll play, you'll only know when the light appears, boy, when the light appears. You'll sing and you'll love, you'll praise blue heavens above. When the light appears, boy, when the light appears. You'll whimper and you'll cry, you'll get yourself sick and sigh. You'll sleep and you'll dream, you'll only know what you mean. When the light appears, boy, when the light appears. You'll come and you'll go, you'll wander to and fro. You'll go home in despair, you'll wonder why'd you care. You'll stammer and you'll lie, you'll ask everybody why. You'll cough, you'll pout, you'll kick your toe with gout. You'll jump, you'll shout, you'll knock your friends about. You'll bawl, you'll deny, you'll announce your eyes are dry.
And he had a harmonium, and so we did a few different versions of it, and they were all recorded on cassette to try to get the same sort of quality of Howl. I don't know if we had managed that. And then in '96, I went to India and I recorded. I was always recording that stage on DAT, and I recorded some sounds on a mud path near a temple in Dera. Was the temple, and
for those who are too young to remember, DAT is a digital audio tape. They look like little versions of VHS cassettes, which, if you're too young to remember DAT, you probably don't remember those either. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so the soundtrack and the music was recorded in India, and then we put the two together again.
And that's all thanks to meeting David Byrne, which is David Byrne is probably the reason I ever found out about you all, because he signed you to his fairly new label, Luakabot.
Luakabot,
Am I saying that correct?
Luakabot, yeah.
And he signed you for your Woman's Gotta Have It album, right?
Yeah, that was in '95. Yeah,
And that was probably, I'm sure he was just attracted to your funk and Indian instruments and bilingual. You had songs on there in French and in Punjabi and English.
yeah. I'm not too sure what he liked about it. I know that Yale and the third person who had to say Cat were totally into us, and I think they had to drag David into submitting to do it, and it took him 2 weeks, and then he finally relented. And one of the nice things that David has said was that every time I do a song, that it's always upbeat, and he actually said he was quite envious of it, that it was always upbeat, and he was yeah, he was in awe of that. So that's a very nice thing.
Yeah, he's having a bit of a renaissance right now himself. I don't know if you've been paying attention.
I've not paid that much attention, I have to admit.
I know he was doing a lot of, like he did a few books and audio diaries and stuff, and now he's got his Broadway show, which of course is on hold for now. But yeah,
the dance thing. Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah. But yeah, that's beside the point anyway. I guess I was gonna segue into that. We haven't mentioned that you guys had a very big hit once, globally, and it was. I remember I saw the video for "Sleep on the Left Side" and "Brimful of Asha" back to back on MTV back when they played music videos.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. They were doing playing two songs by each artist, and both had these lovely videos with just like really fetching colors, very like kind of a 1970s sort of color palette.
Mm-hmm.
And just really chill music, I guess I would say.
Mohammed Rafi, 45, Lata Mangeshkar, 45, Solid State Radio, 45, Ferguson Mono, 45, Bon Public, 45, Jack Dutronc and the Bowling Boogie, the heavy hitters and the Chi-Chi music, all in your radio, 45, 2-in-1s, 45, Argo Records, 45, Trojan Records, 45, Brimful of Asha on the 45, well it's a brimful of...
You name dropped Trojan Records, and I was a big ska nerd, and so I latched onto that, and then started researching a lot of the other artists you were name dropping. Like I went to the library and I got Lata Mangeshkar and Asha Bosley, found some old cassettes, And is that the music you grew up with?
Yeah.
The things you sing about in that song?
Well, Hindi music from the videos, and Punjabi folk music, and Sikh devotional music were the main bits of music that I was into, and people like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, but he sung in Punjabi a lot anyway, and he loved the Punjabi language. But yeah, with Brimful, it was a song for us. It was a song about record collecting and getting into lots of different artists. And there's French artists, there's Jacques Dutronc, there's Mon Public, which is a Georges Brassens song. There's Trojan, as you've mentioned. So there's reggae. There's a whole heap of different things, and just that list of stuff for us was great, because that's what we were into. So if there was a song that expressed us as a band, that's probably the song. I suppose when it went to remix, we were doing very well with the album When I Was Born for the Seventh Time. In its original form, that song was doing okay, and obviously it takes time to build something up in America. And we felt it was building up quite nicely. We got the Spin album of the year in 97 or 98, I can't remember. And then when that song came out, obviously that sort of blew a lot of what we were doing off course, because it was so massive. When it was actually played to Burbank Warners, they slowed it down. They physically slowed it down. They said it was too fast. So obviously we heard it and said, well, you can't do that. It has to be its original speed. And I don't think it's weathered. I think it's weathered very well. It hasn't really lost too much charm, and I certainly don't think the original's lost that much charm either. I mean, we tend to do songs quite slow anyway. You talked about the MTV 2 tracks, and again, I think that comes back down to not being musicians. I mean, if we were musicians, maybe we would have been a little more up with it and be able to get the grasp of what we were doing musically, and the tempo is part of us learning the song as we're doing the song. And maybe that's where, going back to things sound very Cornershop.
Message from the wreckage, it is soft rock shit. TSB rock school, overgrown super shit. The supermodels, well, they can't get enough of it. The overgrown super shit. Yeah, the overgrown super shit.
And then it was 5 years later that you came out with the follow-up official Cornershop album, Hand Cream for a Generation. And your lead-off single to follow up those two mellow hits was a scathing critique of the rock and roll industry with lots of profanity, and and then you started your own label shortly after.
Yeah.
Is it any coincidence there?
The coincidence there was that we'd gone through quite a lot of... We've been on small labels, medium labels, and major labels, and we'd gone through some business problems, well, label problems, and we really put our all into Hand Cream for a Generation, and I knew that we had to do that because of how When I Was Born had been received, and a lot of people still put a lot of light on that album. I don't think it's as good as Hand Cream for a Generation, and I don't actually think it's as good as Judy Sucks a Lemon for Breakfast either, but we had to put a lot of effort in. And when we did that, when the album actually came out, we didn't think that the label reciprocated what effort had gone into it, and so we found ourselves labelless in 2002, 2003. And then the idea of an album, of a label, then came after that very slowly. It came because we went round and visited people, and we thought they were on more drugs than we were, so we decided to do the label ourselves. And
the label has been putting out some great stuff. You've put out over 40 singles and albums since it started.
Yeah. We see the label as an extension of ourselves, because we just put stuff out that we liked. We didn't really think where it was from. We've got stuff that was in Japan, America, Belgium, France, all over the place. And we put it out because we love it, and there's no other remit to the label other than that. So, and it's been nice to do the label, because I started not feeling too well a few years after that, and the label was a good thing to do as a sort of something that you could do without thinking too much, and whilst I was trying to get myself back together.
All right. Well, Tjinder, I think we did it.
Excellent. It's good to have done it.
All right. Well, Tjinder Singh, thank you so much for talking with us today. His latest album, England is a Garden, from his band Cornershop, is available from Ample Play Records, ampleplay.com, and distributed in the U.S. by Darla.
Yeah.
And streamable online, but you gotta get yourself a copy of this double gatefold LP if you can. Comes with a great poster. And here's I'm a Wooden Soldier.
I'm a wooden soldier. I'm a wooden soldier. I'm a wooden soldier. Candy striped officer. I'm a wooden soldier. I'm a wooden soldier. With the freedom of the emperor. Soldier. Keeping up the movie of what the author believed, to form the power to withhold you. Soldier, I'm a wooden soldier. I'm a wooden soldier. Jehovah, detailed in command, striking up the band. To the cold moon canvases, quick marching to the drum. Forward is a road. I'm a wooden soldier. Soldier on. Soldier. I'm a soldier. I'm a wooden soldier to hold you. I'm a wooden soldier. I'm a wooden soldier. Gone, yeah, with the burnt cakes. True north with the double hour. Pot the elephants in the king's tower. And with the soul power, the soul power. To deal, yeah, and a victory's in a peace, not war, yeah.
Bye.